Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Thank you for tuning in, and welcome to This Just In. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. In these segments, I'll bring you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And today, we are broadcasting live from the Health Conference in Las Vegas. Very excited to be here again to do another show among the 10,000 or so that are calling this conference home for, again, another day. But for this episode, my 253rd episode, we have back my illustrious and brilliant producer, Roberta Mullin. Welcome back to the show, Roberta.
Thanks, Justin. Great to be here. And this is the first time we've done at a live, right? Conference?
I think at a show, correct.
At a show,
yes.
Right. Because we've done it in studio before.
Absolutely.
But we've not done it at a show before.
And I always love my chats with you. I appreciate you coming on air with me. We always have a good time. You have great insight, and I'm glad today worked out. It just happened to pop up in both our calendars, and so it was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
So, first of all, how many out of the health conferences, is this your second, third? How many have you attended?
Of health.
Yes.
The only one I missed was the one in Boston last year.
Okay.
But I've been to all the other ones.
This is my first one.
This is your first one.
Yeah.
But
I'm
I
excited.
like to go to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
If a conference is Las Vegas, I'm usually here.
Yeah. I'm all in.
Exactly.
But this is my first. Yeah, it's my first health conference. I think I was trying to take a little bit of time off, recharge my batteries. They're all recharged, so now I'm back at it in a couple of different capacities. So I would certainly want to attend this.
I have to say though that I think that this has really shifted a little in the fact that coming from Vive, because health is now involved with Vive.
Yeah.
And Vive is very health IT centric, but the first few years of health, it didn't have a lot of presence of health IT like our industry.
Right.
But I think that Vive really helped that because
Absolutely.
you see it here. We see a lot more clients. I saw very few clients or people that we dealt with in the years before in health. It was more the whole ecosystem, trying to put together. But much bigger this year, much.
Yeah, I mean, over 10,000. And I would say, a lot of great innovators, a lot of small companies. So I met with a couple of peers yesterday from the industry, and they're amazed by how many smaller companies are here, not just the big boys, because at HIMSS, we're this really big, multi-billion-dollar companies, and there's a lot of them. And here, there's a lot of smaller companies, which is cool. So a lot of great innovators, entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
And then investors.
The startup. I sat yesterday through all 12 pitches. So Johnson & Johnson had a pitch competition. They got 2 minutes to pitch it. They had 3 judges. They had 2 minutes after that. The judges could ask them questions. So it was 4 minutes up there. They had 12 of them. Okay. And then they picked one. Of course, there's money prize. And they announced the winner. But interesting.
Do you remember the name of the company that won?
I'll look it up. I'll have it before you.
Okay, perfect. Because usually when we did the Venture Forum over in the other conference, I would always have the winner on my show when I broadcasted live. From him. So it might be a good opportunity if I should have him on. Let me know.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, why don't we? I guess at a high level, how's the show been so far for you?
Good. Interestingly enough, I come as press, and I usually am bogged down with interviews here, interviews there, trying to please the news cycle, press release side. And this year I decided, well, I'm not going to do that. I am going to take in only sessions this year. And I said no to every interview except for you.
Thank you.
So
that's right. That's awesome. Thank you.
And I've done nothing but go to the sessions, and every one of them has been great.
So in that direction, what has anything stand out from one of those sessions?
Well, I picked some big people that I thought are in the industry. One, do you know who Chrissy Farr is?
Of course, of course.
If you're in our industry, you know who she is. Yes. Yeah. She got to do a fireside chat with Roz Brewer. Now, Roz Brewer is the new CEO of the Walgreens Alliance.
Yes.
And that was really an interesting chat, I guess is what you call it. Right. So that was, and it all stemmed in the healthcare is local. And the other thing is consumer versus patient. I know we've had this conversation before, the consumer versus patient. And I've never thought, I've always said, well, whatever. That's been my whole thing.
Proactive versus reactive.
Yeah, it's like whatever you want to call it. But Roz had said one thing. They don't call it, they certainly in a pharmacy and Walgreens, they do not use the word patient. And because they're in retail. And I think, and it got me really thinking about the fact that when these retail people are coming into this whole game now, and that it is going to switch over to the consumer experience, that kind of thing. So it gave me a whole different aspect of that patient versus there. And the other, the one I took down like interesting tidbits, cocktail tidbits or whatever. Here's the one with Walgreens. There is a Walgreens within 5 miles of everybody's home in the United States.
Yeah. That's right.
I don't know about up in Alaska, but
right.
But yeah, that was really kind of interesting. So when she says healthcare is local, that's why they can do something about it.
It truly is.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I say this every time I speak on this topic. I think I simply boil it down to consumers are proactive about the healthcare. Patients tend to be reactive. Not to offend anybody, but that's the truth. Because if you're paying or you care about the cost of your healthcare, you need to become a consumer. You need to research. There's so much opportunity out there to save money and spend less money. If you, in a lot of cases, not in every one, obviously emergencies and all that, but a patient's, they're kind of reactive to what's going to happen to them. And that's every day it gets more dangerous. It's Russian roulette in healthcare. We have the New Surprises Act, we're just talking about that off air. There's some really cool innovations and things happening there, but you just got to be very careful about being too much of a patient coming up, certainly in what's happening in this economy and where we're going. So.
Well, that's funny because I'm a consumer then and my husband's a patient.
Yes. Yeah. I'm certainly a consumer and most of my family now are consumers. Let's just say that.
I'm not sure I'll ever get him over to that.
So, this is a heavy tech show, so and I love to talk about innovation. So, any cool innovations that you've seen so far?
Well, I saw 12 of them.
Yep.
Okay.
Were they all cool though?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought they were. They were. We were talking a little before. Mental health is really
awesome.
An interesting. It's really emerging, and the more I sit and look at these things, or hear about these things, or see them, I understand that it's really a problem. I think that most people don't understand that. Yeah. And so there was some of that. There were some that brought, that helped bring pharmacy drugs to the market quicker because look, they're not coming up quick enough. Clinical trials, another big one. The science of a lot of clinical trial. I should have done a little bit more homework, but there was 12 in there, but they were all good. They were interesting. A group therapy, online group therapy. That was an interesting fertility, women fertility, all about women. I
saw that. Actually, I walked into that one just as I was passing through.
Yeah. So, it was all over the gambit.
Yep. Excellent. Cool. Any cool conversations or meetings so far outside of ours right here?
No, you're the only conversation I've had.
I'm honored.
I've tried not to make eye contact.
I don't wear my badge for that kind of exact reason too. I have my purpose. I run off, do my event or whatever I have to do, and then I go hide in some corner somewhere because I'm with you, 100%.
Although I do have a spotted by. I randomly got introduced to Patrick Conway, doctor, the head of.
I know. Yep. Yeah, no, worked a lot with him.
He was in his hat and running outfit or whatever. Yep. I said, "You must be incognito there," and he started laughing. So that was like my star. That I met.
He's awesome. Yeah. No, and actually on that in that direction, when I finally turned my phone off last night, I had just shy of 20,000 steps. It's 19,988 steps.
Yeah.
So today I'm only at like 6,000 or 7,000. So I need to pick up with my my steam
I've been
here.
sitting a lot today.
Yeah. So here's a question that I've been asking. I have a couple here that I've kind of, with my show, I'm trying to transition to some different questions, and I want to pull more out of people. So what makes Healthcare Now Radio, or the platforms that you operate, better than everybody else in the market? What is your superpower?
So Healthcare Now Radio now is 10 years old, right? And it was...
I've been there almost 9, 8.5.
Well, you're pretty much one of the original shows. When we went off really live, we pulled you in. So, but in the building of that, we have accumulated 16 radio shows on the radio, and now we have a podcast network of people that already have podcasts that we syndicate and help out. So our superpower is allowing us to be a big group, and when we push that out under one Healthcare Now Radio, we're a power. Yeah. We push out episodes every single day.
Oh, yeah.
The average listen to each of episodes, doesn't matter who you are in our network, is 500 to 600. Yeah. That's just the average.
Yep.
Some of them get 1,000, 2,000, and nobody individually can really do that.
Yep. Right. It's excellent. Great
so
point.
If you have a podcast, call us up.
Yep. Awesome. Love it. Yeah. I highly recommend that. I've been part of the platform for 8.5 years, and I love it. So.
And you, I mean, I don't even know how many, you've got hundreds of thousands of listens, between the radio, and then we put them on, of course, we put them on demand. So, yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So, 50% of my listeners are C-suite healthcare executives, and a lot of them are entrepreneurs. What advice would you offer to them? Kind of thought leadership advice would you offer to them?
To a C-suite person?
Yeah. Because I have more the entrepreneur and the tech that kind of listen to me, and the C-suite executives in healthcare. Mm-hmm. So what advice, from your perspective, because you see a lot out there, you listen to a lot out there. So what advice?
Well, if I'm going to give advice, I would like to give it to the women. Mm-hmm. Okay. I've been in the business for a long time. I've been in health, in technology for a very, very long time. If anybody knows me, my Twitter handle is
Ms. Software.
Ms. Software.
Okay. Yeah, it's great.
And so I had a business that was called Ms. Software, and I did very technical. We did barcode integration to manufacturing. Okay. So you can imagine how many women were around in barcode integration in manufacturing? Well, that would be me.
Not many.
And my company was called Ms. Software.
Yeah.
So, but as I was there by myself, I didn't have women mentors, of course. But then as I did get in and see these women, I found that they weren't very good at mentoring other women. Mm. And I think it was at a time that, women were, I don't know, I can't tell you how much I'm stammering on this, but I hope that the women that are here now in the C-suites and pushing up, they find themselves in a mentoring position. Find them. They're in your companies. You can spot them and mentor them to come up behind you. Don't take them as competition, but mentoring. That's for women especially.
So in that direction, I hear for a couple things when you mentioned that. You mentioned that off air a little bit, and first of all, making sure everybody knows they can do anything that they want out of the gate. You don't have to be pushed into be a lawyer or a doctor or whatever whatever your career path that you might have in your family or that you've been told or your parents want you to do or whatever. And in that direction, that's why mentoring is so important. So I had mentors at a young age, helped me tremendously. And then I became a mentor as soon as possible, but also mentor to people outside my company. But, when we were building my first large company, I mentored a lot of my employees. And even a lot of the male and female, not half of them are now either C-suite executives or CEOs themselves in their own companies. It's really cool to kind of watch a lot of that come full circle. But I've gotten a lot of letters from them in the past 5 years just thanking me for, treating them as an equal, which you say, oh my God, well, 15 years ago, that wasn't happening in all the places, but I was raised in an area where it was, and women are equal, if not more powerful. Mm-hmm. My mother rules the roost. My grandmother rules the roost where I come from.
How is your grandmother?
My grandmother's amazing, 98 years old. She's still cranking. I went up to Boston to see her 3 weeks ago. Great. She gave me heck. She keeps me in my place, let me tell you.
All right.
But she's very well and very healthy. Mm-hmm. God bless. So, I gave that glide path to people as well. So they thanked me for not only giving them an opportunity, but then also, treating them as full equals to the team and inspiring their dreams. And even at times they had to quit to move on to become bigger. So almost to your point, I didn't see them, I wanted them to go off and flourish. They flourished, some flourished with me and alongside me, and some it was right for them to come up. And then after 4 or 5 years, they moved on and take over their own business or take over something else and move on, and never get in that way. We never know what the best path is for the ecosystem around us. And sometimes it's with us and sometimes it's not with us. And don't be selfish. So almost to your point is don't see them as competition, but also don't try to keep them. I was very fortunate where I let a couple of them go. I supported them, gave them reference letters, and it hurt me. I mean, because oh my gosh, well, I just invested in you for the last 5 years and then all that. But it was the right thing to do. And it turned around in spades, because then you get this great letter, in the last couple of years saying, hey, you fueled all of this, or they give these public testimonies and you're one of the 3 people that affected their life the most. That was really cool. So it's been extremely rewarding in that regard.
Right. I was at a party one time. It was probably about 15, 20 years ago. And this young gal came up, and she had worked for me like a long time ago before that. And she introduced me, and she said, oh, you have to meet this. This is the most influential woman in my life. She did more for me than and I was really shocked. I was in awe. And I said, oh, well, that's so nice. And she goes, well, it's so true.
That's awesome.
I was like, and she just worked for me, and I guess how I, interacted with her
and how you led her.
Yeah.
So, one of my newer questions too is, what is one things that you've learned over the past 25 years that you wish you had learned in year 1?
Well, I went to college in the early 70s, and at that time, it was almost like when I was applying for colleges, it's like, well, what are you going to be, a nurse or a nurse or a teacher?
Yeah, my grandma's a nurse. I was you're right.
My mother was a nurse.
Yeah.
And my father was a doctor, and nobody said, do you want to be a doctor? Oh. They said, do you want to be a nurse?
Right.
Well, what are you going to be, a nurse or a teacher? Mm-hmm. Well, I was a teacher.
Yep.
That's what I went to college for. I was a teacher. And if I had daughters today or young women today, it's like, don't let them pigeonhole you into what you can be.
Yep.
Figure out for yourself what you want to be. Yep. Because as you can see, I'm not a teacher anymore. Yep. I've had many, many career paths, and I integrated barcoding into manufacturing. So
I love it. It's true. And also into that point is also to experiment. So I remember I was going to be a lawyer in college. Mm-hmm. And halfway through, I did a internship, and I spent, I think the first week in the law firm, I knew I did not want to be a lawyer. I'd already gone down the path, so I had to finish off what I was working on in the legal studies. But I also then immediately took business classes and said, I don't want to be a lawyer. And by experimenting and exploring like that, it gave me I said, I'm going to be a business person. And that law background actually helped me with all my political stuff and all the Capitol Hill work and all the policy work. So having that background was awesome. But I'm grateful I went down the business route and not a lawyer. And you only knew that by getting in there.
Right. So. And I don't think any education is worthless, because you learn something. I got into the computer industry because I was a teacher. The first job that I ever got was actually installing and teaching pharmacists how to use pharmacy computers. Mm. So they hired me only because I was a teacher.
Oh, there you go.
So that parlayed. That actually parlayed. So it wasn't worthless. I mean, anytime you go to college, you take what you learn and you make it skills. Yeah. You make yourself skills. Yeah.
Well, I know we have about 5 minutes left. You said you have a couple questions, or you want to?
Well, I just want to give shout outs to who I saw. I saw Mickey on Sunday. Mm-hmm. He was great, talking about what the ONC is doing. I saw Chiquita Brooks Lashore, the CMS woman, and the one real big takeaway from her was that, Congress has now allowed CMS to negotiate drug prices. I think that's really going to, well, she says it's going to really be big. So if she says it, I'm going to say it too, right?
Right.
Who am I? The other thing I saw was Calm. Calm is turning into Calm Health now, or sectioning out. And one of the interesting things about them, again, mental health, we're talking about that. They made a statement that in the last year, they had 400 million engagements, either download or on their website. How do you think about that?
400 million
engagement.
That's
with their app.
Yeah.
Or their, So that's what, sparked them to say, oh, well, we really need to be a player in this mental health stuff.
They're onto something.
So, so that was that was a really interesting, another tidbit for your cocktail hour.
Yeah, exactly. And you brought up Mickey, and I do want to take a moment because Mickey had a great talk on the first day, and he talked about the really the High-Tech Act, and then we kind of went through the maturations of policy and Meaningful Stage 1, 2, and 3, the 21st Century Cures Act. And now we're on this, and we've had some disillusionment with some of the policy, but now he talks about the slope of enlightenment and then a plateau of productivity. And I mentioned this on my last show, and I want to mention it again because the 21st Century Cures Act, and I mentioned this, I was talking to you about this off air, is so instrumental to where we are in healthcare and what we're doing, because we see a lot of innovations happening here, hundreds of booths, hundreds of companies. I would say half of them, if not more, are being enabled by the 21st Century Cures Act. And I'll have Mickey back on my show because I want to talk about this some more, because we need to keep this policy push going because we're enabling so much innovation. And I think you and I talked, we need to do a lot more. There's a lot more opportunity to expand and do better as an industry. We owe it to this country. However, we would not have half these innovations. And even a lot of my companies are being fueled and enabled by interoperability, by the sharing of data. So let's continue to break down those walls. Let's, keep these policies moving forward. Even the new Sunshine Act, I think we're going to see a lot. There's going to be a lot of good pieces for that. Certainly we're going with this economy coming up. So I'm very happy with what the ONC has done. There's a lot of work. They don't usually get the credit. They only get the complaints. So, again, I think we need to have, and I hope Mickey hears this, in ONC and our friend Steve, we need to make sure, we need to be talking about this stuff, because let's get them back on air, because there's so much that we're taking for, we are losing sight of as being enabled by this. And there's a lot of, tough people, meaningful use and so forth. But we're building on all that. We're building on all that policy. We don't have tons of new policy coming out. We're actually making the current policy better. And that's what's great. And then the Sunshine Act, I'm very excited about that. No Surprises Act. Sunshine Act was good too, but No Surprises Act is excellent. And so we're going to continue to build on that. I think even with the economy coming up, and this is my last speaker talked about that, we're going to have some tough times financially over the next couple of years with our economy, and even globally, but certainly here in America. I believe we're going to leverage the No Surprises Act much more, certainly as patients become consumers and they're picking up much more of their healthcare costs. And times are going to get financially more difficult. So I think that policy is very timely. So
Right. Yeah.
Got about a minute or so more. So what would you like to add, or what else from the conference or anything from the sessions?
One thing that Mickey said that is just stuck in my mind, and I had to write it down.
This is Mickey Tripathi.
Tripathi. And in the enlightened times that we're in, he said that because your insurance type and status does relate to the care you receive.
Absolutely.
And that's why we need to do what we are doing.
That's not right, but it's true.
That's not right.
Yeah, it's true, but it's not right. That's right.
That's a very powerful statement.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I agree. So what do you have left before you go back to Atlanta?
Well, actually, I am taking the red eye out tonight.
Oh, wow.
So I'm pretty much done.
Oh, my gosh. This is great. Well, it's still got a lot going on here. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm here, but today's my last day. I fly out at 2:00 tomorrow. But I've accomplished all of my goals. I saw some really cool innovations, just caught up with some great people from my past. And one thing I will certainly, hopefully inspire some people and have them continue to leg it out. Because of what I've built over the last 25 years in the industry and just people that I've met and been fortunate enough to work with a lot of them, but just meeting a lot of people and collaborate on different boards, involved, and from also a lot of volunteerships, is now they're here. And so I've kind of really increased some velocity of relationships and partnerships because I've been around so long, and there's a lot of trust built with people. And it's made these conferences naturally just take a mind of their own in some ways and become much more powerful than I even planned. So I've noticed that with every conference now. Right. I see people that I haven't spoken with them in 10 or 15 years, but now we're going to do something now. And it comes full circle. Even HIMSS, I've got some new business partners now I was taking some time off and recharging my batteries. And then I met some of my old business partner from 20 years ago. Right. And he's like, no, look what I'm doing. And I said, no. And he said, yes. And next thing you know it, we're off to the races. So, no.
And Vive, we're going to go to Vive.
Yes. So very excited. So Vive is coming up. We both will be broadcasting live from there.
Yeah.
So very excited. But, everybody stay in there. Life gets hard. Things get hard. Leg it out. It pays off in the end. And it'll pay off at Vive in March. I'm very excited for that conference. And then Amsterdam in 2 years, in 2024.
Are you going to do that?
I am. Absolutely.
We were talking about, I don't know what I would do there, but.
Oh, I'm absolutely going.
Okay. All right.
So, but we are at time, Roberta. You're always an awesome guest. Thank you. I actually want to do this more often.
Okay.
We always have a good chat, and you have a great perspective. You're a great producer. If you have a show, a live radio show, a podcast, get it to Roberta. She'll take good care of you.
We'd love to talk to you about it.
Yes. But thank you everybody for joining us today. Have a great rest of your conference, a very safe flight, and we'll see everybody next week. Thank you so much. Take care.